Oh, we had a bunch of people in there too.
Christian Kirk, you bum! You don't even have a pass. Come on. Come on, Kyler.
Oh, we had a bunch of people in there too. Okay, what's up?
Oh, what's up?
They,
Hooray!
and we can start with 13 in here.
I mean, I guess. Sounds pretty good.
All right, guys, welcome to the midseason review podcast. I'm Kyle.
I'm Sam.
So let's just hop into it. We've got a ton of questions tonight, guys. So we're gonna probably burn through most of the divisions to get to the questions.
Nah, we're taking our time. Don't you worry about that.
All right, so we're gonna start off in the AFC East, where the landscape has changed in the last half an hour, I'd say.
Yeah, well, really, like the past 72 hours, but the league only knows about it within the last 30 minutes.
Yeah, so we'll start with the Patriots. Just traded away Matt Ioannidis to the Rams. Does this do anything for you as far as your projection for the Patriots going forward this season?
I mean, not really. I mean, the strength of this team is still the offense. They're still.
God damn it! The podcast's dead again.
Oh, is it?
What the fuck is going on?
Oh man.
Maybe my laptop's not even on yet. Let me. Yeah, it's dead again. No, it's still working.
Oh.
What the fuck is going on? All right, still working. Can we confirm before we? Yeah, it's still working. Okay, so yeah, so back to the Patriots. No change in what you think is gonna.
No, I mean, I don't really think so. I mean, the strength of this team is the offense, and we kind of knew that going into the season anyway. They're still a top 5 passing unit, even though Watson has already thrown 6 picks this season already, which is more than he has, I think, in the last 2 years combined. So even though the offense has taken a step back, they're still among the elite units. And plus it helps you're in a division with 2 other teams, I guess 2 teams who are average and 1 team who's trying to tank. So that part's going to help his defense too. But I don't hate this trade for either team. Cody's getting a future too in the first custom draft that we do, not this upcoming season, but next season. So I'm sure he'll get a good player out of that. So I like it for both teams. What do you think?
Well, yeah, I think it might be a bit of an overreaction by Corb with his younger D tackle coming back. But if he thinks he needs it to get through the next few weeks after losing Mac today, I understand.
Yeah, for sure. It's probably not what I would have done, but if he's gunning for a championship this season, then that's kind of the move that you have to make. So I think we both don't really agree with it, but we understand it. But like we both said, with this offense, it doesn't really matter.
No. So let's talk about the Bills next. Bills have been a product of a really nice defense leading the way, and Oscar Tomlinson being a breakout candidate in the AFC East. But quarterback play is, 9 touchdowns, 6 interceptions for Woodard, but he's on pace to take 80 sacks this season.
Oh, that's really bad. I think the league leading last year was in the 60s. I think it might have been 71.
I think Tua might have. Yeah, Tua was right around 70.
Yeah. That's really bad.
But I mean, Tomlinson is almost at 1,000 yards. But he only has 2 touchdowns. He's not getting it in the end zone, and he does have 4 fumbles, which is not what you want to see. Along with Woodard adding 4 fumbles to his 6 interceptions.
Right.
But defensively, this team, it's all about the front seven. You know, he's got 2 defensive backs with picks, so that's going to hold him back against a team like Cody or the Bengals, who can throw it really well.
Right. And I know Sean likes to talk about his defense a good bit, but these are the stats that I got off of DL, which was this afternoon. He's 31st against the pass and 22nd against the run. So like his defense hasn't actually been that great. Like they've been fine, but I think he also is benefiting from the fact that he's playing in a pretty weak division. Like, but to be fair to Sean, he has wins against the Broncos and the professional football team. So he's got 2 nice wins, but then he goes out and lays a goose egg against the Raiders. And he probably should have lost against the Jets a couple of weeks ago in that weird 9-8 game. So, you know, he can easily, instead of 4-4, he could easily be like
2-6.
Yeah, 2-6, 3-5. So I think this Bills team is overachieving at this point.
Yep, I agree.
But I will say
let's
this:
move on to
I know Woodard is on pace for 80 sacks, but like to me, he's still the best rookie quarterback. Like,
yeah, I would agree.
9 touchdowns, 6 picks, and I think 3 of those picks came against Houston 2 weeks ago. So
yeah,
he's had a really nice year. I would rather have him than the other 2 guys.
Not much yet. Cirilio. Hold on one second, guys.
Yeah, you haven't missed much yet. I'll go ahead and go to the Jets. Wow, Kyle takes that phone call. The Jets are another team that are kind of, you know, in the middle of the pack. They also took a rookie quarterback in Brett Ford, who is on pace. Brett Fjord, who only has 1,200 passing yards so far. Which is something. He's on pace for averaging less than 173 yards per game. 6 touchdowns, 4 picks, taking 29 sacks. But to be fair, he outside of Michael Thomas, he doesn't have a whole lot of weapons.
He doesn't have Michael Thomas anymore.
Oh, that's right. Excuse me. I meant D.D. Westbrook, who's the only guy that's catching touchdowns for him. But this team is all about Pat McCullers, who right now is probably between him and the Chargers rookie running back for AFC Rookie of the Year, I would say, along with Woodard, I guess. So McCullers, he got a good one in McCullers, but, you know, already having Aaron Jones, it was kind of a weird pick to begin with, but it seems to be working out for him. Fjord also has 8 fumbles, which is, not great.
This is a team that's in flux right now. It's going to get better, but it's going to take a couple seasons before it does. But on defense, I mean, he's got Amari Grant, the rookie out of Texas, has 10 sacks. So that's good. Hopefully he can continue that pace and not get hurt.
Yeah, Pode's defense has actually been really good. They're 12th against the pass and 4th against the rush. Like, imagine this defense with, I don't know, someone like Quinnen Williams. Wouldn't that be something?
For sure.
Like that? I would hate to face that defense 2 times a year.
Yeah, I agree. So let's move on to the Dolphins. Where should we start, Sam?
Well, I think the only place we can start is with the trade. Mahomes is coming to this division, going to Miami. Something that I know you've worked the last few days on. You gave up a lot for this. You gave up a bunch of young players, 2 first-round picks. When you're going for a 99 QB, that's kind of the price you have to pay. I think you said it to me. You said, when you're going for that, you have to overpay. So do you think it was worth it in the long run?
Yeah, I think so. Pass rushers are easy to come by in this Madden. Giving up Jones and Farley hurts, but I'll still have a ton of cap to sign guys with. So it's not a huge deal. I can still go out and get another free safety. The thing that hurts the most is the two firsts because at this moment my current first would be a top 5 pick. We'll see how long that holds, but this was a move that had to be made after the Tua trade. It was something that I made the Tua trade separate of this, but I knew that this was something that making the Tua trade could help with.
The audience demands to know how the Mahomes cap penalty works. That's a question for the Chiefs.
Yeah, I have no idea. I have no idea how that's gonna work, man. I'm just agreeing to the trade. If it's something that maybe has to wait until the off season, I guess. But I think he can make it work with his cap situation.
Yeah, and now we're suddenly looking at a division with Mahomes, Watson, and 2 rookies. So, this division becomes much more interesting, I think, in the near future.
For sure.
Because I think you can get Mahomes to do really nice stuff, and Rondale Moore is actually going to have a QB to throw it to him, so I'm sure he's going to appreciate that.
Yep.
Did you have anything else on the AFC East before we go? I know I still think the Patriots win this division by default, just because I don't think the other 3 teams are there. Even with the addition of Mahomes, I still don't. If you can do it this season, at 1-6, I think that's just too much ground to make up, unfortunately. Unless Cody started sliding really bad. But I think I think the Pats are pretty safe.
I think the Pats still win this division. So let's go to the AFC South. Oof.
I guess.
Let's talk about this division. It's still ugly here. I thought maybe the trade for Lamar would make this division better, but looking at only Lee hasn't beat anyone outside of the division.
Nope, he has not.
Luch has beat 2 teams. Jeremy has beat 3 teams outside of the division, and Blair's beat 1. So that means they've got 5 wins, or I'm sorry, 6 wins outside of the division.
Yeah. We'll start with Lee, since I guess he's technically leading the division at this point. He had to give up, unlike you had to give up a couple of pieces and a couple of picks. He had to give up a bunch of defensive starters, and that is definitely affecting him this year. He has the number 1 passing offense in the entire league. But other than that, his team is kind of struggling. On offense, he has the 26th rushing offense, and defense, he is 13th against the run and 23rd against the pass. So, and you can get by with stuff like that when you're in the AFC South and the other teams are just literal dumpster fires. But honestly, I thought this team was going to be a little better at this point, just because of Lamar and what he has on offense. Because he still has some, we talked about it in the preseason pod, we both love Bateman, and Campbell had a really nice season last year, and Jonathan Taylor's still really good. So I was under the impression that this offense could really carry this team to some wins, and it just hasn't worked out that way so far.
Yeah. So let's move on to the Texans. The Texans made a bold move in the offseason to trade for Chris Jones, and it was one that we talked about either during the mock draft or during the live draft. I can't remember which one we talked about, or maybe even the season preview. Do you look back at this trade any differently now?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, now, even though Houston's on a 2-game win streak, that pick is probably going to be in the top 10 more than likely. And like this team desperately needs talent, like especially at QB because I mean I think Lucha is finally settled on Drew Lock. I think, but like that could change at any moment depending on how a game goes. But
Yeah.
because Drew Lock has 1 touchdown, 5 interceptions, Ritter has 1 touchdown, 6 interceptions. So you're I, I don't know what you do there. Like, if it was me, I would probably play Ritter, but I'm not going to blame him for playing Drew Lock. Um, but outside of Dwayne Glenn, who, is making a case for one of the best backs in the entire AFC, like, he just doesn't have anything. Like, his defense is good. Like, Chris Jones has definitely helped the defense, but was it worth that current one? I don't think so. And I said at the time, I get it. Like I get why you do the trade because you think you're close. But this was like that meme where like it goes it was a calculated risk, but boy am I bad at math. That's what this Houston Texans team is.
Yeah, like honestly, he could still win the division, so it could end up being better. But that puts a lot of pressure on Locke that I don't think Locke can like properly step up and deliver on.
Yeah, I mean we've already seen this like with when Locke was in Indy, like we know he can't.
Right.
So
You
I
know.
I think this team finishes probably like 6-10 and ends up
Yep.
with like the number like 8 to 10 pick. I think feels about right for this team. And then Lucha goes into the offseason still looking for a quarterback.
Yep. I agree. So let's talk about one of the newer users, Jeremy. Jeremy is picking up the pieces that Southern Sam did nothing with and trying to turn it around.
Yeah, it's not great.
I feel for him because like he's made some moves that they're not earth-shattering moves, but they're they're good. They're good moves, but it's still tough. Like he's got a bad quarterback that Sam drafted and then didn't play, who could possibly have been okay if Sam would have played him. An old running back in Derrick Henry.
Yep, who probably shouldn't still be on the team, but again, no fault to
Yeah.
Jeremy's. Like
Yep.
this is just the
An
hand he
aging
was dealt.
defense. No AJ Brown, no Jeffrey Simmons. So like it's a bad position to be in.
Right.
So
Yeah, and I mean, and to Jeremy's credit, like he has a good win. Like he beat the Bucks, but he also lost to your team, the Dolphins. Like that.
yep. Thank you for that. I mean, to be fair, he got maddened pretty hard in that game.
Right.
The winning touchdown was a fumble recovery in the end zone
Oh,
that put us up by
that's brutal.
however many. Yeah,
Like
like his quarterback just dropped back and
just
Roach strip sacked him.
just real quick going back, like Osborne's had a nice season. He has over 2,100 passing yards, 14 touchdowns, 7 picks. Like he's taken 30 sacks, sure, but like that's a nice season to be honest, especially for a strong arm QB. Like there are a lot of teams that
Yeah.
would love to have those kind of numbers right now, but because this team's been neglected for multiple seasons. Like the talent's not there, unfortunately, and Jeremy will get the chance in the offseason to, try to, sign some dudes, make some picks. But yeah, Jeremy just needs a season. That's all he needs to get this thing turned around.
Yep. Yep. So let's go on to the Jags. I don't have much to say that I haven't already said, so I'll let you lead this one.
So, I'll admit my degree I got as an undergrad was in sport management. So forgive me, but my math isn't that great. But I think Blair's 2-5, which means that 12-4 is out of the question at this point. So better luck next year, Blair. You came pretty close. You could go 4-12 and do the inverse, like somebody mentioned. But this team is they're 26th in points per game on offense, 22nd in offensive passing yards, 25th in rushing yards. We all know how much Blair likes to brag about his young defense. They're 29th in points given up. They're 13th against the pass and 25th against the run. So, yeah, there's that. This team is, this is a team in the AFC South. He also has a rookie quarterback who I think yesterday Blair said in 4 weeks he gets improviser, so we're down to 3 weeks, so we'll see. But he's been okay. Like, he hasn't been great. 9 touchdowns, 7 picks, just over 1,700 yards passing, taken 31 sacks. You can feel free to jump in, but this team is just not great. Like, it.
Look, I was not nice yesterday in the general chat, so I don't feel like I have to say much more about my feelings on this Jags team. Like, does Blair have some nice pieces? Yeah, absolutely. He's got some young pieces that are nice, but they don't work. They just don't. Like, I'm just going to run through, like, player stats here, and like, that's the wrong way. And I'm just going to go to the defense. I mean, like, Truman is whatever. You're not going to win with a strong-arm quarterback, but, I mean, your young defensive line is getting decent number of sacks, but your C.J. Henderson is a 92 overall corner with 1 interception this season. For some reason, Anthony Harris at 31 and 78 is still your starting free safety. You gave up a first that ended up being the number 6 pick for John Johnson. And just for comparison, John Johnson has 1 interception, 4 tackles for loss. So I'm just going to pick a random safety who was in that first class. No, let's do the Bears safety, Hamsha, because I think he was the first safety taken with the pick that Blair had. And, Hamsha's not been much better, but Hamsha's an 87 superstar in 24, where John Johnson is an 87 star at 27. So which would you rather have? Like, it comes down to that. And if you want to go pick for pick, the pick that the Rams end up having is Micah Parsons, who has 5 tackles for loss, 2.5 sacks. He doesn't have any interceptions, but that's barely worse than John Johnson. Would you rather have Micah Parsons or, John Johnson? It just comes down to moves.
Clearly, I'd rather have John Johnson.
Yeah, I mean, so. But let's just go ahead. The Colts win this division still, I think.
Yeah, and I'll mention, no other one. Sam Darnold did win a Super Bowl. The only difference here is you can win with a strong arm, but the only path is an elite offensive line and an elite running game, which you had. The Jags do not have that, to say the least.
And the difference is Mahomes is 99 in all things. There are ways around getting Mahomes into different things. Mahomes isn't a 72, 23-year-old rookie. I mean, that's the difference.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you. I think the Colts win this division by default, probably just because of Lamar and the offense. And pretty much all these teams are going to have a bunch of questions heading into the offseason.
Kyle Trask Mahomes. You obviously haven't seen Kyle Trask play, and he's got a broken forearm or upper arm. So,
I don't know.
Let's go ahead and move to the AFC North, and let's talk about the Bengals, who are 7-0 and probably the best team in the NFL right now.
Yeah.
In NFL GM.
There's no probably they are the best team. They're pissed after last season going. I think they went 14-2. And
13-3.
13-3, and
yep.
lost pretty early in the playoffs.
Yeah.
They have honestly, they have a top 3 offense and defense with good wins against the
And
Seahawks and Patriots.
and they just got better by trading for Yannick Ngakoue.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, this team is really good, and they arguably have the MVP on their team, and Joe Mixon, who is having another just really, really good year with almost 1,000 yards in the first half of the year and 9 touchdowns. Like, that's stupid. That's stupid at how good that is.
Yeah.
Yeah, the defense is still really good. Cirilio got really fortunate in the fact that J.J. Watt came back, because I was for sure thinking that J.J. Watt was going to retire, and he came back and is having, a nice season. Like, he has 1, 2, 3, he has 4 guys with at least 4 sacks. Like, that's good. Like, that's decent pressure. Like, you can live with that. But Trey White already has 5 picks in the first half of the year. Logan Wilson has 2. Jesse Bates has 2. Like, this defense feeds off of turnovers.
Yeah. I'm just gonna go ahead and Whitmer Trey White.
Oh, you're good.
Yeah. That's a meme.
He also is making John Ross pretty good. Like, John Ross is the leading receiver on this team with almost 500 yards and 3 touchdowns. So that's nice to say. John Ross, the cheat code, and I think it was Madden 18 or 19 when he was first a rookie. Like, everybody wanted him because he had, I think, like 97 speed when he was a rookie in Madden.
Yeah.
But moving on to Pittsburgh, and this Pittsburgh team I think, had high expectations coming into the season. They traded for Christian McCaffrey last year, and he has been...
Sam, pay attention so I can stream.
For what?
That's Vince.
Oh.
From Vince. Sam, pay attention so I can stream.
You can stream if you want, Vince. That's fine. I mean, I'll put myself on auto real quick. All right, 1 second. Put myself on auto.
So I can talk about this Pittsburgh team. It's got a lot of nice pieces on offense, but this all comes down to how well Dwayne Haskins plays. If Dwayne Haskins is the great player who has been putting up numbers for this season and last season, 12-5, touchdown to interception, almost 2,000 yards. And then, McCaffrey is doing fine, almost 600 yards and 6 touchdowns. This team can win defensively. It's a group effort. This isn't Samson Ibaka, who had 23 sacks or whatever a couple seasons ago. Minka is back to playing like he did a couple seasons ago with the 5 interceptions. So he's got a really nice team. I just don't think it's good enough to compete with the Bengals going forward.
Yeah, and this team at 5-2 is good. I just think specifically on offense, I think they had higher expectations. Like, they're only 26 in passing yards per game and 30th in rushing. Like, the defense has been spectacular. They also have 2 bad losses. They lost to the Raiders, and at this point, they lost to the Ravens. And I'm considering that a bad loss at this point in the season, just because they are 3-5, and the Ravens don't seem to really have an identity on defense.
Yeah.
So as of right now,
let's just talk
about a bad loss.
Let's talk about his next 6 weeks. Bengals, Cardinals, Ravens, Bengals, Rams, Seahawks. And he's on the road for Ravens, Bengals, Rams, and Seahawks.
I mean, that could potentially be 1-5.
Yep. Easily 1-5.
That's realistically
he finishes
1-5.
But he finishes with a nice end of the season: Jaguars, Titans, Browns.
Okay. So
I mean, that's not.
So for him to
So
make the
like
playoffs, what do you think? I think he has to go probably like 2-4 at least in that stretch, just just because
no,
the AFC is
I think
weak.
1-5 gets it done because 1-5 puts him at 6-7, and then those 3 games to finish could put him at 9-7.
Okay.
Which would be enough to win. Because I mean, you know, realistically, you've got Bengals, Chargers, Pats, and then Broncos, Steelers, Bills and Colts, I guess, and then Broncos, Steelers, Bills fighting for that last spot.
Okay. Yeah.
At this point.
Yeah, he could probably go 1-5. You probably want to go 2-4 just to give yourself, if you can go and be what would that be? 7-6. If he goes 2-4.
Yeah, 7-6 and 2-4 would be nice, but it's not a necessary thing.
Right.
I don't think it would be good. But yeah, so let's move on to the Browns. 3-5, kind of floundering right now. No real identity on offense, and on defense they're built around a couple players, but Tyler has some moves that he needs to make in this offseason that he needs to take a hard look at.
For sure. Yeah, this team can still run the ball. They're third in the league in rushing yards per game, but they're 22nd in scoring and 24th against the pass. So, it sounds like he's moving the ball on the ground fine, but Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt are getting old, and he still has that rookie who I think is pretty good, but he's not playing him. So it's like the Chuba Hubbard situation all over again. I don't exactly know what the plan is.
Yeah, for sure. I like what Tyler has tried to do a few times with like quarterbacks, but he's gotten antsy with like just moving on from them from time to time. Hopefully he can be bad enough that he can end up with a top 5 pick and get one of the quarterbacks this draft. Yeah, Browns are just... It's not ideal what's going on with the Browns right now.
Yeah, his rookie Morgan Baker he's 68 star. Ugh. He's been not that great. He has like 1,300 yards, 5 touchdowns, 4 picks, taken 38 sacks. So he really hasn't been good. So to me, it would make sense to just be bad and like try to get one of these other QBs. Because remember, he signed Josh Allen in the offseason, and Josh Allen looks like only started 1 game, unless he got hurt.
Yeah.
But again, like you said, he signed him for, granted it was a year, but moved on super quick. And that, I don't know. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. Because if he drafts a rookie again in the first round, you can't just replace him. Like, that's your guy for the next, however long you want to try to develop him.
Right. So let's move on to the Ravens, who traded away Lamar in the offseason. We've talked about that ad nauseum. They're just kind of there. Like you said, no identity on defense. They've got Newman and J.K. Dobbins and a slew of receivers, but does that make them good enough to compete in the AFC North? No.
No, and they do have a good win against the Steelers. But, other than that, they do have the number 1 rushing offense in the league behind J.K. Dobbins. And I think Newman has rushed for a good bit as well.
Yep, almost 500 yards. So,
yeah, that's nice. But when you're...
he also has 8 fumbles, so...
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say. So that part's not great. But this team right now, they simply just aren't good enough. They got a bunch of young pieces back in that Lamar trade on defense. So I guess the hope is, those pieces will develop in the next couple of seasons. But,
yeah,
until this passing game can develop and until the defense gets a little better, like the Bengals and the Steelers are just going to be too good. Like they're just
Yep.
the Ravens at
And
this point are just going to be fighting for a wild card spot.
yep. And just a note on Newman, he's also taken 40 sacks, so he's also on pace for 80 this season.
Not great, Bob.
Yeah, not great. Evan Vernon has 7 sacks. He came over in that deal. But the other guys who came over just, they don't have any like impact plays so far. Baron Browning has 6 tackles for loss and a sack. But that's about it. Dickerson has 4 tackles for loss and 11 deflections, which is nice, but no picks. So it's just the trade hasn't worked out for him defensively as I think he would have hoped.
Yeah, you would have hoped to get a little bit better production out of that, but he still has some high overall players on this team. He still has Marcus Peters and Marlon Humphrey. So, this team on paper can be really good. It's just they haven't developed so far. But I think we both still like the Bengals to win this division, I would imagine.
Yep, I've got Bengals. So let's move on to the last of the AFC and go to the AFC West, which is a better division than it's been in the past few seasons.
Yep. Largely
which is nice to see.
The new active users.
Yep. Broncos and Chiefs, both way more active than either of their former users. No shade to Paul. Paul's an awesome dude,
We love Paul.
Looking at the Chargers, though, they're leading the division at 6-2, with the Broncos hot on their heels at 5-2. So what has been the biggest difference for the Chargers this season?
Well, I think it's just been the play of Justin Herbert. I mean, he's been way better this year than he was last year. I mean, at this point last year, we have to talk Phil off the edge. We were really worried about him. He's passed for almost 2,000 yards. He has 10 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. But the other big part for me is the development of Lynn May, the rookie running back out of Lehigh. He's has almost 800 yards and 7 touchdowns in the first half of the year.
Hold on. No, I didn't throw Paul under the bus. I liked Paul. He just didn't stream a lot of games. That's all I was saying. I like Paul a lot.
Yeah, we love Paul.
I think Paul would admit that he didn't stream games in here, and that was part of the it sucks that you have to stream games for your players to play well compared to other guys. So, but back to the Chargers. I think that Phil has done a nice job of kind of staying the course, not making too many huge moves outside of trading Tyler Boyd, which Boyd wasn't a huge need for him.
Right. And Eckler as well.
Yep, and Eckler, but he drafted a rookie running back who's amazing. So, So good job so far, Phil. We'll see.
Proud of you, Phil.
Yeah, Paul wouldn't have traded me Mahomes. That is true. I love Paul. Moving on to Brendan and the Broncos. He's done some nice things here. Also, another guy who kind of just stayed the course, hasn't made a ton of moves. Did trade away a center today, right? Did he trade for this? Yeah, traded away a center. But, it's just the Serrano kind of, when he did stream, his team did well and he kind of got busy and that happened. So, Brendan's been able to stream most of his games.
I think that's the biggest thing is that when this Broncos team, when whoever streams, they play really well. We've been talking, this is probably the 9th or 10th podcast in a row we've talked about the combo of Sutton and Judy being the best young wide receiving core in the league. And, now that they have a user who actually streams on a consistent basis, they actually are putting up stats. KJ Hamler is also a guy who's been really good this season for Brendan as well. He did sign Le'Veon Bell, So I guess it's not Master Teague season, but I don't know. And then Justin Fields has played well. Although the 11 touchdowns, 10 picks is concerning moving forward. Um, and he's taken 29 sacks as well. But this Broncos team has two good wins. They beat the Pats and the Chargers. So I think this Broncos team is legit. Like I think they're good. I don't know how you feel about
Yeah,
it.
I agree. I think the Broncos are really good. So let's move on to the other half of the Dolphins trade with the Chiefs, giving up Pat Mahomes, and I can talk about what they're getting back more than I can talk about, what I'm getting in Mahomes. Like, we know it's a 99 overall quarterback, but obviously there's still questions with archetype and stuff. But they get a really good young pass rusher in Quincy Roach, a guy who was all rookie and then improved on that all rookie team with 16 and a half sacks last season, is on pace for about 15 to 16 sacks again this season. They get Brandon Jones, who just got superstar and is going to be a cheap option at free safety going forward. And they get Caleb Farley, who's also a young 24-80 star corner. But they add 2 first-round picks, one this year and one next year. I think that's huge for the Chiefs, who now can. I have no idea. I keep looking to see if he was able to accept it. It's still pending. So, but this is a team that, if he didn't feel like he could get it done with Mahomes, he's going to have potentially 3 top 10 picks coming up this season that he can use to get the quarterback that he likes.
Yeah, he got a good amount for Mahomes. That cap penalty is going to suck. But the good news is with all these picks, he's really not going to have to worry about paying anybody for a little while. So he can afford to eat it. I guess the next question you have with the Chiefs is is he done tearing down? Or is he going to try to move some other pieces as well? Because, if you just trade Mahomes and you're like, well, I mean, you still have, you still have 2 good receivers and Hardman and Tyreek Hill, who both have 99 speed. It's Daniel Spade is whatever. Elaire hasn't had a ton of success running the ball this year, but he has caught almost 60 catches in the first half of the year. So does he want to continue to tear down, or does he want to just bring in a new QB and just give him some good weapons? And I think that's something that he's going to have to look at this offseason.
For sure. There's not much to say about the Raiders. Travis still isn't active, so just FYI, we're probably going to be looking for a Raiders user this offseason. So if anybody has anyone, let one of the CMs know. Do you have anything to say about the Raiders? Because haven't been any moves, and they're kind of where we thought they were going to be.
Yeah, no. Ton of cap space. Team's not that good. That's about it. Yeah, inactive user due to situations outside of his control.
Yep. So
that's it.
So I think that we both pick the Chiefs this offseason?
Yeah, I know I did.
Yeah, and I think I did too. So I'm gonna switch. I'm gonna go with the Broncos here.
You know what? I am too. I'm gonna join you.
Damn, I thought you were gonna take the Chargers. I thought we were gonna have
different
opinions. I was like,
I really like this
Broncos
team. I'm gonna take the Broncos.
I'm a big brain Sam here. Is what I was thinking.
Can't big brain me.
So moving on to the NFC North. This is a division that's a little bit more competitive than it has been in the past.
This is a fun division. This is a really fun division. We talked in the preseason pod. This whole division came down to how good was Vince's team going to be, because the Vikings and the Vikings and what.
Read the chat. Fucking Vince.
Yeah, that's good. Raiders users are defense against the dark arts teacher curse. Yeah, you're not wrong. We're trying to break all these curses. We got to do it one team at a time. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's really funny. Um, yeah, the Bears and the Vikings are both kind of in tough spots. So we figured they weren't going to be ready to compete. So really, the division came down to how much better did Vince's team get, and we'll start with the Packers. But Will's team has been really good. I think they're the second best team in the entire league, behind the Bengals. Um, they have a ton of really good wins. They've beaten the Saints, Broncos, Panthers, and Seahawks. So that's as legit as it gets, honestly. They've
Yep.
beaten, I would say, all of those teams are at least potential playoff teams. Um, Jordan Love's had a nice season. AJ Dillon is up for, I believe, I looked at the yearly awards, and he's up for the NFC Offensive Player of the Year. Um, so yeah, this Packers team is really good, and I really enjoy watching them, even though they beat me week one. It was still a fun game to watch.
Yep. So moving on to the Lions, Vince has made a lot of moves this season to get better. Um, adding Byron Jones, adding Juan Thornhill. He's in a really good spot going forward. It's just isn't enough this year to make the playoffs, and it's going to be tough. Um, he has the Saints right now.
He's currently
still
up
have a game
14 to
against.
nothing, by the way, almost halftime. His
Okay, well,
his defense has been suffocating.
okay, well. So there's that.
Trey Lance has the
You
big
know,
dumb.
so I just think Vince is a little ahead of where I thought he was, but he's still got work to do. But this is a team that I think if they make the playoffs, they're a team that could get on a run, kind of like that Panthers team did a few years ago, and make a run to the NFC Championship or Super Bowl, depending on how the matchups fall.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think Vince is probably the feel good story of the year in the league
Yep.
right now. We talked this offseason just about how good his offense was, and what really held his team back last year was the defense. And now it's almost a full reversal. His defense has been really good.
Yep.
They're fourth in points per game defensively, sixth against the pass, fifth against the run. They don't have any bad losses this year, and they've beaten the Panthers, and they're well on their way to beating the Saints. So I think Vince is going to make the playoffs. I think he snags one of those wild card spots because I don't know if he's going to have time to catch Will.
I mean, if he wins, he's only a game behind Will, but
Right.
you know,
It's a
it'll
tall
come.
order because Will's team is a completely different animal.
Yep. Um. So moving on to the Bears.
Oof.
I feel for Spaz. He made the move to trade for Thurman Wyrick, thinking that was the last move he needed to make. But I think it's pretty clear at this point that Gardner Minshew can't get it done.
Yeah,
Um,
that extension is looking worse and worse by the day.
Yep.
Wyrick's had a nice season. I would like he has been MVP good, but like he's been fine. It's not what you would want if you gave up a current one and a future one, but it's not all his fault. Like Minshew has been bad. Like he brought in AJ Brown to try to help Minshew, and Brown's has over 500 yards passing, but it's still, it's just not enough, unfortunately.
Yep.
And the defense can only do so much,
And it's not the same defense from the past. You don't have Khalil Mack. There are other problems. We can talk about the Vikings, but I mean, I think the almost negative 200 point differential says it all.
Yeah.
This is the worst team. This is the worst team in the league, hands down. And
I'll just
if they win a
shout out
game,
to John, because like John just got here. like before the season started, so he hasn't had a chance to do anything with this team. So,
Yeah,
at least he's probably going to get the number one pick, so you can at least like
oh,
try to do something.
I don't think there's any world where he doesn't get the number one pick. I think this team is lucky if it gets a win. Like,
That
honestly, I don't think I think they go 0-16. I mean, I just want to like they have like 2 or 3 NFL caliber players on their team. Really,
yeah, it's
right
it's
now,
not pretty.
like you look at Dalvin Cook, Daniil Hunter. This guy Yannick's not there anymore. Mike Hughes, Justin Jefferson, and then like some offensive linemen who are okay. Caden Stearns is fine. Deontay Johnson, Max Harris is a nice player, but like all these other guys just aren't going to get it done, and especially when Jared Goff's your quarterback, and we've seen what happens when Jared Goff is your quarterback already.
It's not great. It's not happy fun
And
times.
you're still
Well, he
rolling
is
out.
starting. He is starting Cohen. To be fair,
No, I mean that's probably at best a lateral move, right?
do you want to guess his touchdown and interception ratio?
I'm gonna say he has 4 touchdowns and 9 picks.
How about 2 touchdowns, 14 picks?
Fuck. I wanted to go lower, but
It's it's not great. I mean,
yeah, it's not great.
it's
No, I get it. I get it, Spaz. Like, I've been in the same position with Tua. They just keep letting him throw it. Like, it's not ideal. But back to that's not good, and that's not going to turn around in a season for Cohen. Like, he's probably going to finish with something like 22, 23 interceptions and maybe like 10 touchdowns if he really turns it around.
right. Oof.
Yeah.
Well, I would probably still take the Packers to win this division at this point.
I think it's closer than I would have thought at the beginning.
Agreed.
But I'm going to
Yeah.
roll with the Packers still. So let's move on to this NFC South. Saints are leading at 6-1, going to be 6-2 probably.
Oh yeah, I would say so. Vince is about to score another touchdown, more than likely.
So
Yeah, there it is.
You know.
Jesus Christ, we're getting shredded.
You better hope you don't run into the Lions in the playoffs. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, this will be the second time in a row they've beaten me pretty handily. I'm good. I surrender, Vince. I don't want any more.
So just looking at the Saints team, you've got a bunch of young guys that are finally like hitting their prime. So that's good. You're also just to look to the future, you're about to have to pay a bunch of players this next season.
Yeah, so this is where Lance is due for a contract. Seth Williams is due for a contract. 2 offensive linemen are due for a contract. I've already paid Milano and David Bowen and CeeDee Lamb. So, there's gonna be a big bill coming next year. But thankfully, all the guys I'm paying are still super young. So,
Yep.
this window is hopefully going to be open for the next few years. But it was looking a lot better before I ran into this buzzsaw that is the Detroit Lions. I hate these guys.
Yeah, me too. Not really, Vince. I like the Lions. You're
Although
fine.
it is hurt so
Well, good.
suck it, Vince.
So looking at the Panthers team, this is a team that has made a bunch of moves every offseason to kind of end up in the same spot that they're always in, 5-2, 4-3. Is it worth it in the I just are all these moves worth it every time Kevin does them?
To me, if you're making all these moves and you still have the same result or a similar result, I would tend to say no. But I don't know, man. And this team is fine. I don't think it's that much better than the previous iteration of this squad. It's fine. He lost to me. He's now, I think, 4-3, and he has a good offense and defense. It's just getting to that, just getting over the hump. He just hasn't gotten there yet.
Right.
And he's also having to pay guys this year, so his cap is
Yep.
going to be super strict for the next, I think, 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, no, I agree. No other one. Like they're not hurting him, but it just like at some point, why do you just keep making the moves? Like if you're gonna end up in the same spot, like if I'm making the moves, I want to be significantly worse or significantly better.
Also, if you're giving up
kinda.
legit assets to make these moves, then I would argue it is hurting him. Because if you're giving up multiple firsts just to go 9-7 again, like you might as well just keep those firsts and go 9-7. 9-7
Yeah.
is 9-7. Like it's not going to make a difference.
Yep. So looking at moving on to the Bucks, Larry's kind of in a weird spot. His guys are kind of starting to get to the age where they're gonna regress probably, and he's got a rookie quarterback. So I think he's probably a 9-7, 8-8 team going forward. But if there's like huge improvement from Knapp, like that could all change.
Yeah, he still has Knapp, and Ronald Jones is still, relatively young. He's only 26. And those are the two guys that really matter on this team. Godwin's 27. Mike Evans is getting older. Perez is good. He signed Thielen for a year. So this team is good, but I don't think they're as good as last year for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And I think I think a
think-
lot of it too is like the rest of the division got better as well.
Yep.
So
That's what I was gonna say.
That's probably part of it.
Yep.
So
I
I
don't
think
have much
this.
to say about the Bucks.
Yeah,
So,
I think this
go
team's
ahead.
ceiling is 9-7 or like 10-6 on a good year. So
Yep.
that's about
So
it.
the Falcons traded for Tua.
Mm-hmm.
It is what it is, I guess. I want to see if they ended up resigning him yet or not, just out of curiosity. Not yet. Hasn't made any signings yet, but I think if you don't resign Tua at this point, what was the move for? If I was Oscar, I would tag him and give him another year to see if I can find a scheme and playbook that works for him.
Yeah, that's what I would hope he would do.
But he just traded away McKinley for a third, which is whatever. I think
Probably a
Oscar's
little,
kind
but
of
he could have gotten a little more, I think, but
yeah.
oh, hey, Milano pick. How about that? Good job. Good job,
But
guys.
this is a team that's probably I know, but Tua wants 160 mil for 5 years. Like that's a lot to pay a guy that you're committing to then paying him for the rest of that, pretty much the whole contract. So, yeah. So for me, the Falcons are overperforming right now at 3-4. They're probably gonna finish at like 6-10. If they're lucky, 7-9.
Yeah, I think 7-9 is really optimistic, to be honest.
Yeah, like 6-10, 5-11. I'm sticking with my Saints pick from the preseason.
I'll stick with my Panthers pick. My schedule was pretty soft coming out the gate, so I could see like me slipping up, and Kevin taking the division. It does help that I'm 3-0 in the division already, so Kevin doesn't have really any more room for error. So
Yep.
I'll stick with my Kevin pick.
So just to respond to what no other one said, I would agree with that if he was the dude who originally had Tua. Dumping him makes sense, but he just gave up a 2 and a 3 for him. So if you're saying that was, then you're basically saying you gave up a 2 and a 3 for half a season of Tua, which doesn't make a lot of sense when he could have used those picks to bundle it again.
Yeah, honestly, if he does a 2 and a 3 and doesn't re-sign him, then that's GM malpractice. To be perfectly
Yep.
honest, like you just
Yep.
can't do that, especially when you're a team that's not that good. Like you just can't be
Yep.
giving away high picks for nothing.
Yep. Because
Like
those
we
two
like
and
we
those
joke
threes are
we joke
probably.
with we joke with Will about giving up a first last year for Julio Jones and then he retired. Like at least that pick was like what 31, 32 or whatever. Like if you're giving up a
Yeah.
2 and a 3 and you're still bad and you're not going to re-sign the guy you trade for, like that's awful.
Yeah, and the problem becomes like, say Oscar does go 5-11, or let's say Oscar, in some weird world, doesn't win another game and he goes 3-13, because Tua can do that for you. Then he gave up what will probably be 36, 37, and 68, 69 for half
Right.
a season of Tua to just be bad. Like at that point, just stay bad and then use 37 and you're one to go up and get your quarterback.
Yeah. And I didn't
But
even I mean, I don't know. I'll admit I don't watch a ton of Falcons games, but I didn't think Teddy Bridgewater was that terrible.
I would say it's at best a lateral move
Okay.
from Tua to Teddy. Like I think that you're not getting that much better with Tua,
Yeah. No,
if at all.
I would agree.
So let's go ahead and move on to the NFC East, where no other one is leading with the Cowboys. Ryan got another win, so that's nice to see.
Oh, he's done with his win total. Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Second half resurgence for Ryan? Question mark?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Nine straight. I'm calling it now.
I'm here
Nine
for
straight.
it. Heck yeah. So this Cowboys team is good. They won the Super Bowl. Was it? I think they won the Super Bowl 2 years ago now. Uh, Offense is still good behind Sam Darnold. They're fifth in points per game, 13th in passing offense, seventh in rushing offense. The defense it's been fine. They're 10th against the pass, 21st against the rush. Probably the most famous move that no other one made so far is cutting Cam Jordan in the preseason, and of course he ended up going to Cody. But this defense has been fine. I think he's going to have to sign a couple of guys here pretty soon. I know he has to sign Khalid Cates, his legacy player. So we'll see if he re-signs him. But for the most part, this team is pretty good. They do have a bad loss against the Bears.
Yeah.
That sucks. But other than that, they're beating who they're supposed to beat, and that's why they're 5-2. So. This Cowboys team is good. I think they'll more than likely end up winning the division, kind of by default because the other teams are not as good.
Yep. Let's talk about one of those other teams in the Washington Professional Football Team. Still has a really nice defensive line, but offensively, this team is not as good as it was last year.
No, it's not.
So for me, like Rebel is kind of spinning his wheels here if he doesn't like figure out something to do with this offense to make it more explosive. He's gonna waste the youth of Young, Allen, and Montez Sweat, because that front four should be a front four that like is good enough to get you to a Super Bowl.
For sure, every year.
Yep. And I feel like this team is kind of they're just not competing with the top tier of the NFC right now.
No, they're not. They're kind of in that next tier of clubs that
Yep.
are like right there. Like if they get the right matchup in the playoffs, like they could make a run, but they kind of need some stuff to go their way before they can do that. The defense to me, they is the most disappointing. Kind of going through the stats right now. The offense has been fine, but the defense has just they've been gashed against the run. They're 30th in the league in defending the run. So they really need to shore up that part of their game to try to get better. But they have beaten the Packers, so they can beat the really good teams. It's just they're not as consistent.
Yep. They beat the Packers, but they also lost to the Bills.
Well, I mean, the Bills are 4-4. I'm not gonna, I don't have that as a bad loss. I'm not gonna fault them there for losing to a 500 team, even though we like the meme, Sean.
Right. So moving on to Ricky Giles, I'm gonna go ahead and say Manic's predictions for the off season, like his preseason predictions, are kind of I think they've fallen by the wayside here.
I mean, it's technically possible.
No, he had the Giants going 16-0.
Well,
So,
I mean, that's not as possible anymore, unfortunately.
Yeah. This defense is bad.
Man, you know what? It's not great. It's not great.
218 points given up is not ideal. You're not going to win a lot of games that way.
You're not. He does, however, have 2 good wins against the Seahawks and Lions, so that's nice. Manic has been Giles has been fine. Like, he's been kind of what we've come to expect from Giles. 1,600 passing yards, 7 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. The rushing yards are still there. He has 331 rushing yards on the year. But he has fumbled 10 times. So, also not ideal.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Like, if Giles can, like, tear up, like, you've got a chance to win, but that's not happening as it is right now. So, let's talk about Ryan's team, and I guess he would be up there for one of the most disappointing teams in all of the league so far this season.
Yeah, and it's really just unfortunate because I think his team is good. He's just had a really tough schedule so far. I think he plays more division games the back half of the year, so maybe he can pick up a couple of wins there. But, I mean, he has beaten the 49ers, who I think are good, but he's just been getting really unlucky with Wentz. Like, Wentz has not been great this year for him.
Yeah. No doubt. I think it's the Cowboys winning this division, and I think that you could see. I think Washington can make the playoffs still as a wild card team.
For sure.
So
yeah,
I think they send. I think they probably send 2 from here. I think it's 2 from here, 2 from the NFC West, and probably 2 from the NFC North.
Yeah, that
I think Kevin might be the odd man out here.
Yeah, to me, I think Kevin's biggest hope is that the NFC West continues to cannibalize on each other, and he can get a couple more wins and sneak past that second place NFC West team.
Yep. So let's talk about the NFC West here. Corb is leading this division.
My man.
But despite leading this division, he's been trying to blow it up.
Yeah.
Put Hurts on the block after, I think, what was a failed attempt at trying to get... I do like you, Corb. Stop it.
Corb knows I like him, so you can say whatever you want.
I
know I'm safe.
I know you were trying... I know you were trying to get Mahomes. Like, it's pretty clear that was a move you're... Well, then why would you put Hurts on the block? Like, I don't understand that move. That's what I'm asking. Like, unless you're saying you want to trade a season, which I guess I understand that, but you put Hurts on the block, like, literally, like, 20 minutes before the... Okay, well, then that's different. Like, that's what I'm talking about. I don't think that you were actually giving up, but what am I supposed to think when you put Hurts on the block?
You're supposed to trust Cord. That's what you're supposed to do. That's what I do. Big trust.
Fuck off.
Also, congrats to Vince for beating me for a second time in a row. This one I think was closer than the last one. That is 24-17. Lions final.
Yeah, congratulations, Vince.
Congrats, Vince. Good job, buddy.
Rams are leading this division, but this is as close of a division as there is.
Yeah.
All these teams still have a shot. I think that Corbs still has a top two team in this division, like roster wise. It's just going to come down to like individual matchups going forward. Now, I'm pretty sure he's 4-2-0 in the division, or no, 0-2 in the division. That's not a good look. The good thing is that he still gets to play Roy, who is 0-3 in the division.
Ouch town.
So,
poor Roy. We'll get to you, buddy.
Looking at this Rams team, they're still really good on defense. They've got a nice offense. It's going to come down to how Corb plays against the Seahawks. For me, at least.
Yeah, I would agree. 0-2 is not a great look in the division, but, that's thankfully it seems like everybody in that division struggles against each other, so that's the nice part. He can definitely make up some ground quick, and he's got a really good defense to do it. They are second in the league in giving up points per game, fourth against the pass, and third against the run. They have beat Washington, which is a nice win outside of the division. If Jalen Hurts can turn it around, then this offense is going to be in shape because Cam Akers is having a really nice season, but Jalen Hurts is kind of fallen off a little bit. He's definitely not been as effective as last season.
Yep. So let's move on to Russ, the defending Super Bowl champion. He had a suspension from the wheel at the beginning of the season that definitely didn't help. This team, I still think, is one of the best teams in the NFC.
Totally agree.
4-3 doesn't discourage me from that at all. I think that Russ was quiet at the trade deadline, but I think that's because he knows this is his last run and he didn't want to give up any real assets going forward.
Yeah. I wouldn't have either. And he's still got a really good team. His defense is a top 10 unit. He has 2 good wins against the Cards and the 49ers. He did lose to the Giants, which I put in the maybe as a bad loss. That's yet to be seen. But at this point, I wouldn't consider it a bad loss just because the Giants are pretty good on offense. But this Seahawks team is still good. I'm with you. I wouldn't have mainly used the deadline if I had to give up some assets.
Wittered out 6 weeks. Ouchtown. I totally agree. I don't think that he needed to give up any real assets going forward, considering that he's going to need a quarterback in a year or two. So let's move on to Roy. Cardinals are a weird team, man. Because when they win, they just completely dominate the other team. But when they lose, they just don't look good.
Yeah, and this team, they have 2 good wins. Like I wish Roy was in the NFC East because I think he would go undefeated because he's beaten the Washington team and the Cowboys so far. But this team is just it's just odd. Like Murray, ever since signing his extension, just hasn't been that good. 9 touchdowns, 9 picks is not great. And he only has less than 200 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns and 4 fumbles. So, I don't know if it's scheme, playbook. I just don't know. I know Roy has messed around with it a ton, trying to get Murray to play better. But I just don't know what the answer is. And then you trade for DeAndre Swift when you already have 5 other running backs on the roster who, I don't hate Swift. He hasn't been great, but it's why would you give up picks for Swift when you could just draft a running back in the 3rd or 4th round and drag him?
Yep.
That's something that I didn't quite understand.
No, I agree. So let's talk about the last team here, the newest user in the NFC West, Logan and the 49ers.
Yeah.
4-4 is not bad, but Negative 21 point differential is not great. It's not like terrible, but he's he drafted the only X factor that I think there's been in any of the drafts so far in Kyle Garland, but that secondary is still not good.
No, it's not.
And, I don't think he was here for all of free agency. He may have been.
I don't think so. I
But-
think he got in like right before the draft. I'm pretty sure.
So that doesn't help. When you're looking at he could have signed a couple older veterans to like stopgap like Chris was doing. I think that Logan's got a long rebuild on the defensive like secondary side. The good thing is he's still got an elite front four and he's got a pretty good offense.
Yeah, his offense it's been middle of the pack to not great. Like it's been fine. It's not like Chris level, obviously, but I think it's probably a little better than Giovanni level. But
Well, somebody should probably hit up Chris and figure out what offense he was running.
yeah, for sure. But the thing about this
Like-
49ers team is they've beaten the Cardinals twice and they've beaten the Rams.
Yep.
But they
So-
got blown out by the Eagles to a score of 48-6.
Yeah. So that's not a look that you want to have. Who do you have winning this division now at the midway point?
Man, this is really tough because on the one hand you can say the Rams, but they're like, oh, they're 0-2 in the division already, so that's not a great hill to climb up. But I think I'm honestly going to pick the Rams. Like, I just really like the Rams defense, and I think Hurts can. I think if Corb changes his playbook and scheme around, then I think Hurts could be better. So I'm going to go with the Rams.
Okay. I'm going to stick with the Seahawks, but again, this is another one where, like, if the Rams won it, I wouldn't be surprised.
No, definitely not. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if any of these teams won the division. I guess I would be surprised if the 49ers won. But, like, if any three of the Cardinals, Seahawks, and Rams won, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I agree. So that's it for the preview or the review. You ready to move on to some questions?
Yeah, we're going to do Destiny while we do questions.
Yeah, we're going to move over to Destiny, hopefully.
Woohoo!